Hey guys, welcome back. Another Digital Gate Studios production. Basil, you've been on the channel, a key member now for so long, and you came up with this idea. Let's revisit your first deck profile video because you've made some great changes, gotten so much better at deck building and playing that everyone needs to know what this deck looks like now.
It brings a tear to my eye. It's the deck I've played the most.
It's
the deck that I like the most.
So nice.
It's Bloomlordmon. It's one of those decks that it was literally the second deck I ever built out of EX3 format. And the interesting thing about it, I think it's always been pretty strong.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But it's gotten wave after wave after wave of support.
It's kind of a lot of support.
I think I'm bold to say this. I think it's one of the best decks in the format.
Okay, I like it.
And I will stand by that.
What I think, I agree with you that it can definitely be, but I also think that this deck can punish players who don't know the deck more than any other deck.
It's true. I also feel that Bloomlord is one of the most skill-expressive decks in the entire game.
Absolutely.
So it really rewards players who understand how to do all of the different lines and build it properly. So we've got my version of it, and there's a lot of variation in this list.
Sure.
So we're gonna talk about the pieces as they come. The first is I'm sticking with the Argomon.
Love that.
Unsuspend and gain a memory. This card is very nice. The memory aspect of it is interesting because a lot of turns, a lot of our plays have gotten really cheap in this deck.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So some people will think that the extra memory is somewhat superfluous.
Sure.
But I've found that especially in this deck, it's basically a call and response deck in a lot of ways, to where you're not going to really leave the raising area until you have something to deal with.
Yep.
And on that turn, you aren't going to kill your opponent. This is not an OTK deck.
Yep.
So after you deal with your opponent in one way, you are going to gain that memory off of the Argomon. We'll talk about what most people have switched to on the fifth egg is the Kokomon, the EX4 Kokomon. And I think the Kokomon is very nice. One of the reasons I've switched away from it is very niche. It is a mandatory draw, which can hurt you against Mirage Galgamon, which I think is another contender for top deck in the format. But our draw and search in this deck is never been one of the weaknesses of it. So I found that the extra draw matters less than the extra memory. That being said, if you wanted to switch to 4 Kokomon, 1 Argomon, I think that would be reasonable. As well as I have seen people play the Torikara Balmon for a 2k DP buff on the egg, as well as the Tanamon. So if you want to ensure DP buffs on your Bloom, I think that's fine as well. But this is the egg split
that's what I like, but I'm kind of partial to how the deck's been played since the beginning.
We'll jump into the rookies. The first should not be a surprise. It's the BT10 Palmon. It's one of the best searchers in the game. Search 4, grab a vegetation or a plant, and a fairy. It's even better than it was because we have fairies in the level 5 slot. So it's very nice. Got to keep it at 4. One card that I think people are moving away from and I think is incorrect is the EX3 Pomumon. It's one of the most important tools in suspending your opponent's Digimon. One of the best things to play by your effects so that you have access to the piercing that Bloomlord gives.
Absolutely.
As well as it has a little bit of synergy with our new rookie, and that is the SR Palmon.
That card's
this
so good.
Palmon is very, very good. A lot of people I've talked with have said, well, we don't really want to play this at as much until we get the Palmon X. And I understand that because you start of main, give something, when it becomes suspended, lose 2, then go into Palmon X, and then immediately suspend that thing to gain that 2 memory. And I think that is very attractive. But in this deck, there are a lot of ways to suspend stuff besides that.
Yeah, I mean, that's literally the same reason you're playing for the EX Pomu.
That's correct.
Right, because you're going to be able to suspend.
All of our deck is suspension effects. It makes our line, we can go from 3 to 6 even more than we could in previous sets, which I really like. as well as even if you don't get the start of main skill off, you have the inheritable of reducing Digivolve cost if you have a green Tamer.
Yeah.
So it's one of the best rookies to put in the raising, and I would play it at least at 3. We play 2 extra rookies, and that is the Effect Floodgate Pomumon.
Yeah.
I think playing by effects is extremely popular this format. Lugarmon and D-Brigade and other things like that, as well as it being a vegetation is very nice. A couple of honorable mentions in the rookie slot is first the Memory Blocker Terriermon. I think it's very good, but rookie space has been very tight in this list,
Sure.
especially with the addition of the Palmon, and then in the future with the addition of the Palmon X. It's going to be really hard to find room in the rookie lineup. I've gone up to 13. I used to run 12 in the rookies, but I think the rookies are so strong in this deck that you really want to have 13. And the last honorable mention will be the BT11 Palmon, which is start of turn draw 1.
Yeah.
I think that card is also reasonable in this format.
I think that was great back then, and I think it's, I don't want to say phased out like it's a bad thing, but I think you got to pick and choose for sure.
I think this lineup is perfectly fine, and that's what I'm rolling with. Into the level 4s. If it's from BT10, we play it at 4, and that is the Sunflowmon.
Sure.
On Digivolve, suspend it, and then play a 3K Plant Farrier Vegetation.
Great card.
All of our level 4s or lower is playable by this effect, and then the inheritable draw 1 is perfectly well and good. The debate in my head was on the next 2 level 4s. The one that I ended up keeping at 4 was the Sunflowmon, the BT13.
Yeah, this card's nasty.
This card is even better this format because we are playing level 5s that are fairies.
Yes.
So it's obviously very good in the Rosemon deck because you are always playing that Lilamon to play the Yoshino for free. So it was a little bit weirder in the Bloomlord strategy. It's, of course, nice to play off of the Agitar and then go into Bloom for 2.
Yep.
But it's even better in this format because we're playing a couple more Tamers as well as we're playing some more Fairies. And so that's sort of the reason that I'm down on the next level 4, which is the new Togemon.
I love this new Togemon so much.
This Togemon is amazing. It's one of the best cards they've ever printed. I've said before, I was really excited for a level 4 Togemon that said, when Digivolving, if you don't have a Mimi, play a Mimi.
Yep.
But they gave us this, which is even better. It has the effect of when you play a Tamer, you can suspend this Digimon to reduce it by 3.
That's amazing.
Thank you so much to the fans for correcting me on the last vegetation video we did. It does not activate the Mimi on play or your turn when you suspend it because the sequencing is you do suspend the Togemon first. So the Mimi does not see that suspension. That being said, it is playing Mimi for free or for 1, depending on which Mimi you are playing. And then the inheritable skill, again, reduce Digivolve cost by 1. So if you can see in the 3 and the 4 lineup, we have 10 cards that are reducing Digivolve cost by 1.
That's where I think Bloomlord got so scary because before it was like, okay, yes, they gave memory at the Argo, they have all this ability, but now they're just reducing the crap out of their Evos. It's like, wow.
Bloomlord was already Evoing for 4.
Yeah.
It was Evoing for 4 and then gaining 2
gaining memory
or
back.
3
Sure.
or sometimes even 4 or 5. But now we're Evoing for 3 or 4, 3 or 2, or sometimes 0 with the Sunflow, and then gaining memory on top of that. It's something that's really pushed Bloomlord over the edge, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Some honorable mentions in the 4 slot. The first is the Blocker Yakimon. It was a card that I really liked in an aggressive format.
Yeah.
Really helpful to deal with the red hybrids. With when Bielsamon was popular, it was good then. Could be good now with those Louis Ukomon decks running around with the Rookie Rush strategies. So the Blocker Yakimon could come back up. As well as I want to pour one out for my boy Red Veggie.
I know.
The 3 to hard play, 1 to Evo.
I got attached to that card
near
for
and
sure.
dear to my heart. But the level 4s are so strong in this deck that it's really hard to justify the vanilla.
Yeah.
But if you were to play it, I wouldn't hold it against you. We'll jump into the level 5s now. The first, again, BT10, it comes in at 4. That's the Agitarmon. Again, the same effect as the Sunflow, but it's a main skill, suspend it. And then, when an effect suspends a Digimon, gain 1 in the inheritable.
That's so good.
If you have an Agitarmon in the raising, you are threatening a Bloomlord that turn, no matter what, because you'll suspend him, play something, go into Bloom, suspend them both, gain 1 from Agitar, and then 2 from your plants.
Absolutely.
Making it a net 1 cost
Yeah,
Evo.
it's crazy.
We've got something that really pleasantly surprised me in the deck, and that is 2 of the Lilymon Ace.
Yeah, definitely glad you brought this up because I have some questions about this.
This was a card that I thought was pretty weak in terms of the other aces. I thought the Magna Anja Ace, I think, was obviously very strong.
Yes.
Recover 1.
Yep,
and then Neg DP.
Yeah.
The Zudomon Ace
is incredibly good.
is very, very good. The Metal Greymon, I think everyone kind of saw as kind of the dark horse of the aces. It's the best looking alt art, but the worst card.
Yeah.
And then the Lilymon Ace surprised me. The reason is I read it initially as suspend a 5K and then bottom deck it.
Got it.
That's not exactly correct.
Sure.
It's suspend a Digimon, then bottom deck a 5K. So I think the reason that this is good is, for 1, you can go into it for 1 with the Sunflow, reduced by 1 more if you have the Palmon.
Yep.
As well as it's another way to trigger our Palmon lose 2 memory effect. So if you promote a Palmon and you have 2 memory, you Evo into one of your level 4s, and then Evo into the Lilymon. It's basically going to be a 0 cost Evo.
Absolutely.
It's reduced by 1 by the Palmon inheritable, and then it's going to trigger the Palmon skill to your opponent lose 2 memory.
Sure.
As well as if you're promoting a Sunflow, using its effect to play out something and then passing the turn in a way.
Yep.
If they try to swing over that Sunflow
That's
with,
what I
with
like.
a level 5,
Yeah.
that's 7K, you counter, you can bottom deck their Searcher, and they're going to lose the battle. And from there, their game is really hard because now you're threatening a Bloom. You can put something else in the raising. A lot of offense you can do thanks to the Lilymon Ace.
Definitely agree.
So I would keep it at least at 2. I would not move it down there. Then, sorry, Jesse, but we are going to throw out 3 at once. We've got the Digi-absorb trio. We play the Argomon and the Blossomon because they are restricted. And we play Cherrymon because it has really good synergy with a lot of our top end.
I agree. Yeah, it's a great card.
It's very nice. The interesting thing about this is, and you know me, I play restricted cards when I can.
Absolutely.
I
definitely agree with these ones.
I've actually considered taking out the Argomon in this deck.
I don't blame you for considering the Argomon for sure.
The interesting thing is Cherrymon is very strong in specific matchups.
Yes.
To where it, I don't want to say auto wins certain matchups, but it
does feel like that.
It makes some matchups really hard for your opponent. As well as Argomon is not a plant, a fairy, or a vegetation.
Yeah, that's why I think you're okay taking that out.
So there is some consideration to take it out. However, the inheritable skill of playing a rookie on swing is ridiculous. Your Digi-absorb for free is very nice. And then the Cherrymon, that 1 to Evo, that 1 Digi-absorb, just sets up your Argomon, sets up everything you could ever need, as well as stopping some of the more aggressive decks.
Yeah.
It is worth noting that if you Digi-absorb onto a 4 that has the Palmon in the stack, you do lose that reduction of Digivolve cost on your 5 or on your 6. So that is worth noting. Honorable mentions in the level 5 slot. Just the 1, it is the Entmon. It's a 4 to Evo, Digi-absorb 3, and then it unsuspends. So that can be useful, but I value the level 5s that we have here. And I do like those 9 level 5s. A lot of lists you'll see with 8.
I think I like 9 a lot
but
too.
But I've found myself enjoying 9 level 5s.
You have to get to that Bloom.
You do have to get it. Well, let's quit beating around the bush. We'll jump into our level 6, the big bad himself. It's Bloomlordmon.
So much.
You should all know what it does by now.
Yeah.
Digivolve, suspend something, gain 1 for everything suspended, then reactive and gain piercing. For every 2 suspended Digimon, 2K, and security attack +1.
Yep.
You're going to blow through a lot of your opponent's HP when you go into this card, and it's the mainstay of the deck. This is our last format playing Hydramon, so I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts. When we get the LM packs in EX5, we probably will be switching to that Quantumon. But for now, we have Hydramon, and it's a very good card.
It's a great card.
Incredibly strong when paired with Cherrymon and Quartzmon. It's very disruptive on your opponent's turn. They're not really sure how much memory they actually have, as well as there are a lot of stuff that is worth bottom decking in the format.
Yeah.
No honorable mentions in the level 6.
I agree.
Everyone else, the other options just aren't strong enough.
Nope, those are the two to go for
just
sure.
until we get to Quantumon. In the level 7 lineup, we're down to 2 Quartzmon.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Quartzmon is one of, if not the strongest floodgate effect in the entire game. It stuns their entire board, and if they don't have an out to it, their entire security is going to get trashed, and they're going to lose a very slow and painful death.
Sometimes it's not even slow, man. Sometimes it's 2 turns.
Sometimes
it's just like 2-3 turns, and they're like, okay.
The very nice thing about Quartzmon is why I generally stick with the Argomon. Is because it's the only thing that's going to unsuspend.
Yeah.
So it is still going to gain that memory, which is nice. It's another card that pairs very well with the Cherrymon.
That's why I like the Cherrymon. And I would almost swap an Argo for a second Cherry for the Quartz.
Completely reasonable.
But the Argo's too good. I agree.
But that's it for the Digimon. I was originally running Quartzmon at 3, and I think that is a perfectly reasonable way to go. But I've found that it's very hard to find room for a third level 7.
It's so hard, man.
3 level 7s does seem bricky to some people.
Sure.
But this deck's search and draw engine is extremely strong.
Yeah.
So running it at 3 does not feel bad, but it is difficult to find room for it. First, on the Tamer lineup, we have the new Mimi.
Yes, great card.
It's another card that has pleasantly surprised me. I knew the on-play search was going to be good. It searches top 3 and then grabs a plant, fairy, or vegetation. It's perfectly nice. And the Your Turn is another effect that I misread. It is not the same as the starter deck Izzy. It's when an effect suspends a Digimon, opponent, or myself. So that activates with obviously all of our effects here, but as well as suspending my opponent's Digimon. So that's very, very nice. As well as part of the trouble that we had with the Sunflow and then the old the Lalamon, the Yoshino Searcher, is we didn't really have that many good Tamers to play in green.
No.
So this is going to help us turn on some of our Digivolve reduction effects. And we can play that for free with the Togemon. And speaking of Mimi, we've got 2 of the setter. It's the best setter in green for sure.
Good. So good.
It's why we're running that 5th egg. It just helps you accelerate your plants and fairies. It's BT1 Mimi. We all know what it does.
It's so good. BT1
as well as playing it for 1 is completely ridiculous.
That's broken.
And that's it on the Tamer. I've found that 5 Tamers is plenty to see our for our Digivolve reduction.
Especially because your combos don't rely on Tamers to pop off.
It's true.
Obviously, it helps, but
it's just more of a bonus, really, than anything. The first card that I'm surprised that I went down on is the Green Memory Boost. Green Memory Boost to 2 is kind of the reason why I've gone down on the Quartzmon. When we had 4 Green Memory Boost in this deck, it made sense because it was our only way to search the Quartzmon. Quartzmon is not a plant, fairy, or a vegetation.
Absolutely.
So the Green Memory Boost is sort of why that is, as well as you wanted Green Memory Boost just in case you didn't have Agitar in the raising to guarantee you're able to go into Bloomlord in a turn. But with all of the memory efficiency that's been added in recent sets, you don't really need Green Boost as much. Mimi kind of replaces it as a searcher, and then the effect on the Palmon, the Sunflow, and the Togemon really made it so that memory is not in short supply in this deck.
Yeah.
So going down on the Green Memory Boost is perfectly fine.
So do you think those that weren't playing 4 Argos as an ace would probably play more Green Memory Boost?
I think there is an argument to be made there. But if I were to go up on the green memory boost, then you'd go down on the Tamers.
Yeah, because I agree with that for sure.
And then the other consideration for this was boost or training.
Yes.
And I found myself opting for the memory boost.
Okay.
The training is nice because it can grab, obviously, our 2 options we have left, as well as our Tamers.
Yes.
But I've found that digging 4 is very important in this deck.
Okay.
There's a lot of times where you're into an Agitar, but you just don't have that Bloomlord.
You're looking for something
specific
right then and there.
If you search 2, you're not going to find Bloom as much by searching 4.
Gotcha.
As well as raw memory is a little bit more important than reducing Digivolve cost in this deck. There will be times where you want to hard play Pomumon and then Digivolve into Bloom.
Yep.
And if you have 1 memory and a training, you don't have the ability to hard play that Pomumon.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you have 1 memory and a boost, you do have that ability. We've got 1 on the Grandel Soul. It's a card that I can't get away from.
Love that card.
I really enjoy Grandel Soul. A 6-cost bottom deck is as cheap as you're ever going to get.
Yeah.
Bottom decking is extremely important in this format. A lot of our scene has Yellow Vaccine players playing Shine Gray Ruin mode. There's a lot of cards worth bottom decking in this format. The reason why sometimes Quartzmon feels a little awkward, you don't really want to leave a Digimon, even if it's suspended and can't unsuspend. You don't really want to leave it there. And so Grandel Soul is a great way to end the turn. Out of security, obviously, it's amazing. But in the hand, it doesn't even really feel that bad. One last card in the deck is Hidden Potential Discovered.
Because it's so good.
It's very, very strong in this deck, obviously. Go into Quartzmon for 1, go into Hydramon for 0, go into Bloom for 0. It's very, very nice. Some honorable mentions in the option lineup. The first is obviously Green Training. I think Agility Training is perfectly fine if you leaned more into the Mimi side of things and wanted to play maybe less Digimon. I could see that being completely viable. Samedi Santi always gets a shout out. I really like that card in specific situations. There's just no room for it anymore.
Your room is so tight.
We need more Tamers. We need more Digimon than ever. It's incredibly hard to find room. I do want to shout out Mimi's New World, the promo option.
Interesting. Okay.
With the Setter Mimi and with the 7 Palmons, it's not even ridiculous to play.
Sure.
It searches a ton. And I also want to mention the BT14 options, Blooming Sincerity and Poison Ivy.
Those are great
those cards
too.
could be excellent in this list.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't find room for them.
Yeah.
I just opted for the HPD, the Grandel Soul, and a couple of boosts. So that's the list. I vouch for this list completely. I think it's incredibly strong, but you do need to get some reps on it.
Definitely.
It is a deck
takes
that
practice.
you cannot just pick up and play. You do need to learn all of your different lines and all of your different ways to play. But other than that, that's what I've got for you.
I love this list, man. This is great. This is perfect. This is the direction I think I would recommend and steer people towards too. With the egg split, with the boost, and then the Tamers, definitely. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, feel free to share this video with all your friends. Jump in the comments if you liked it. Let us know if you're still playing the Bloom Lord, or let us know if you're not going to play that new fairy in the LM packs. Definitely want to hear a reason why, but I think most people are going to. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.